Time. It is time for the number one podcast. I am your host, Coach Jake. Happy to see you. Evans, the eighth, Hokage, Xteradad, Big Snacks, 609. What is up, people? Titus, NY7RC, Jeremos 3. Man, we got a lot of people, man. Dallas Paran, Papa Fozzie. Hey, people. Happy to see you guys. Chime in, give me some love on the in the chat. Love to hear from you guys. All smiles. Today, so I've asked this question multiple times, and I keep getting like a very similar feedback often about when I ask people, what is stopping you from achieving certain goals, right? And for me, like I find that most people, hold on, I got to turn this off. It's like acting all crazy in my ear. So one of the things I constantly hear about, is money. That it's money that's stopping you from achieving your goals. Okay? Is that true for you? Do you have an understanding of money? Are you financially literate? That is my question for you today. Because a lot of times I have people, they're like, oh man, I want to sign up for the affiliate. Yeah, dude, it's like awesome. You get to learn catch wrestling, you get the whole scientific wrestling approach, all that kind of stuff. Watch out, Scoob says 6 weeks for physical therapy, but then I'm back in action. Okay, so physical therapy is what's holding you back. We got Miguel, Luddite King, Samael 81, Oil Man, the real Soupsa, Rob Dent. What's up, guys? So I find that a lot of people have a hard time with money. Is that you? Do you have a hard time making the kind of money that you want? Right? And let's not be defeatist here. Let's not be that person that has resigned yourself to having less in life because, for whatever reason, you decided that you didn't want to make money, right? So let's talk J Futures Trading. What's up? What's up, Kaylin? Hobo Luna Fart. Happy to see all you guys. Hit me up in the chat. Where are you guys from? Talking about money. How comfortable are you guys with money? Where is your knowledge? Do you have enough? Are you worried? Like, right? The news right now should have you freaked out. Inflation, supply chain issues, small businesses. I just saw something in the news the other day that all of the big retailers from Walmart to Target are canceling all their orders for the Christmas season, like billions of dollars in contracts canceled. So are you being hammered by the economy right now? Is the economy holding you back from your goals, right? Again, like I said, I got a mission. My mission is to get every man, woman, and child on this earth improving their life through the sport of scientific wrestling, catch can wrestling, the sport of professional wrestling, not the theater, as either an athlete, coach, promoter, or fan, right? Or some combination. Okay. And I have other goals. I have a goal to help struggling business owners succeed, create so much money they have generational wealth, that they can make the kind of impact that they have so much money they can give a lot of it to charity. That's when you got a lot of money, is when the charity that you care about, you can give a lot of money to, right? Or that your kids and maybe your kids are set up. But I find like so many people really don't have. Okay, I always rattle on this show about grappling literacy, because grappling is a huge thing in my life, something I'm very obsessed about, something that has been huge in all my adult life. And so I talk about that. But, so has finance and money. I have my master's degree in financial engineering. You can Google financial engineering. It'll fucking take you down a rabbit hole. Essentially, it's financial mathematics, it's risk, it's derivatives, if you even know what derivatives are. Anyway, so I do spend a lot of time talking about grappling literacy on this show, but I want to talk about financial literacy. I want to talk about business literacy, and I want to talk about money. Okay. So what's up, John G. Men, Jason got caught, J. Espinoza, L. J. 2000 KT, R. Fort would go, Hubert Kubrak, not quite James. Man, we got a lot of people in here and nobody commenting. People get very, very, very quiet about money. Oh, we shouldn't talk about money. Ooh, let's not talk. You got to talk about money, dude. You got to, because you got to think about it. And thought is largely self-conversation. So one of the things you need to do is you need to start actually talking about money. And you need to start talking about money with all the people in your life. So as usual, I am also a word nerd. J. Espinoza 715. What's up? I'd love to talk about money. Let's go, bro. So do you got enough money? Do you not have enough money? Is it holding you back? So I put a post for Scientific Wrestling. I have my number one coaching, which is you guys go number1coaching.com. I do help small business owners, and that is typically not solopreneurs. I've helped a lot of solopreneurs, but I really do prefer to work with small business owners. That means, you have to have employees. And I really like that sweet spot between 10 and 50 employees. I will help you. Got a client, just been working with them only 2 months. Already got them just in 2 months, I think we're up at like a 12 or 15% increase on revenues, which means the money they've spent with me, they've got a 10x, no pun intended, a 10 times return on their investment working with me just in 2 months. And we haven't even started. Usually I try to do 6 or 12-month engagements to really get people blown up. Taco Mat, or how do I say that, man? I don't know. Taco Mait. Welcome. Mexico in the house. Any other countries? I'm in the USA. I'm in Denver. Where are you guys from? Anyway, I want to talk about money. Okay. Throw in the chat, man. Please. I can't talk to anybody. Otherwise, I'm just speaking, pontificating forever. So you guys got questions? You got comments? You got anything you want to share that you think will help? Let's go. Hoba Lunafart. I'm in the Central Valley. I work in education. Substitute teacher and adjunct, part-time professor. I don't make much. Waiting for full-time. You still ain't going to make much, dude. There's no money in that. And listen, okay, it's all relative, I guess. So throw this in the chat. This is where I'm curious. What's a lot of money for you? What's a lot of money for you? Let's talk about this. Get over the fucking taboo of talking about money in public. What's a lot of money for you? What do you want to be making a year? Right? Okay. Because I'm a coach. I want to help you get to where you need to go through the principles of coaching. How do we figure this out? Right? Because a coach is not really interested in why your mommy gave you a complex or that shit. Okay. We want to get results. J. Espinoza says there's never enough money. I don't know, man. If you hit your target and it's what you want. Now, you're right. Maybe for some people, there never is enough money. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that personally, as long as you do it ethically, right? So I think a lot of people have a lot of the things that keeps people away from money. One is illiteracy. They have financial illiteracy. And then the other one is that they've got hangups. They do have hangups. There's a lot of people who have hangups about money. Do not delude yourself. Shuvo Vox, let's see, what's he say here? What are your favorite tools and software for small businesses? CRM, automation. Well, okay, it depends on the business, right? CRM, they're a little pricey. Eventually, they lure you in with the free sample. I really like the HubSpot CRM. Is just fine, but I don't use it anymore. I think it's great because that's how they get you in onto their marketing platform, which is fantastic. They really are the movers and shakers. Personally, I like HoneyBook. I use HoneyBook. I'm going to be real. So I use HoneyBook for one business. I use a fucking Excel spreadsheet. That's how old I am. I just make columns and rows and make sure I've got all the info I need and write up the notes and stuff. So, a CRM, it just depends on what, like what is it that you're trying to do? Are you strictly an online business? Because there are CRMs that are like automatically integrated into certain packages and things like that. So I don't know if that really helps. But yeah. So Shuvo says old school rocks. I mean, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I'm gonna show you right next to me. Okay, right next to me, I've got my blank notebooks. That's one. There's one blank notebook. It's not blank. It's full of fucking writing and shit. You can see, like, right? You can see that. There's two. Here's my third. Here's my day planner. 4. Here's another one. 5 and 6. So you don't get much more old school than fucking writing shit on paper. And it's for me, I'm old. Like, I'm not old. I'm not, down on it. I like being old. But, writing shit on paper fucking rocks. Just being real. I love that shit, man. To me, what I like about it is it makes it real. I mean, I guess it's real if it's on a spreadsheet or in your HubSpot CRM or whatever you use. But I don't know. It's actually real. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. So anyway, that's more business literacy, and that's more tactical as to like what do you use and that kind of stuff. But I appreciate the questions, and if I can help you, whatever. But I'd like to talk. One, like, what is the deal with people not having money? And again, like I said, I think personally, it comes down, most everything is mental, in my opinion. So I think part of it is literacy. People either don't have information or they have the wrong information, which if you went to public school and then even college, you probably have the wrong information about how to actually make money. You might have some money about how to get a job, maybe, but actually making money, creating money. And then the other thing is people have hangups. They have a lot of weird fucking hangups, like money is the root of all evil, or they just, the mindset is wrong. Like they have problems mentally with money. So as always, Takio, how do I say your name? Taco meat. Sounds like it. You just got a weird spelling. Why is the catch wrestling so divided? So many fights between it? Because it's a bunch of fucking fighters, dude. And there's so many weird nuances and whatnot. And there's, listen, you just got to kind of deal with it, dude. I've been in this fucking shit for 20 years. I've done more than anybody else. I mean, I have no problem saying that. It's a fact. It ain't bragging if it's a fact. But the problem is there's no barrier to entry. Anybody could just be like, oh, I'm a catch wrestler and not have done fuck all. That doesn't necessarily mean win a competition or anything. I'm saying just haven't really done anything except be a fucking jockey on the internet. So, that's one problem. 2, it just does attract contentious people that like to fight. I mean, this is not just catch wrestling. This happens in all of martial arts, dude. Like you go and get to the nerd level shit, nobody gets along. But it depends also what you look for. You're clearly looking for factions and schisms and paying attention to that. There's a lot of people that get along, dude. A lot of people that get along. So, I mean, you find what you look for, in my opinion. What's up, Stellar Steven? Loans or save up? Save up what, dude? Okay, you got to increase your income or you ain't ever going to save nothing. And you've got to invest, which is actually having your money make you money. And you got to figure out the best, most efficient, fastest ways to do that because time is short. Time is short. Okay. So, I mean, I think you're on the right path. I got the Modern Catch book now. Oh, good. I hope you liked it. Yeah, you guys can get that over at scientificwrestling.com. Go on instructionals. It's like the first book there. A lot of people really I've gotten a lot of great feedback and I appreciate that. I hope it's been useful to you guys. Super cheap. I think it's like $7 for the digital download. You can have it right now. Yeah. Okay. So we got Benjamin Mind, EC5s, Eddie Blas Valoy, Jeremy Woolward, Conceptual Grappling, Fred Pilt. Man, we got people on here. Okay, so Hobo Lunafart. Tenure job started 80K plus benefits. That sounds like a lot to me, but I'm kind of used to not making a lot. Ha ha. Yeah, especially in a world of inflation when we know that wages do not keep up with inflation. So, that 80,000 maybe 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago, that was a lot of money. 80,000 you're still going to be struggling. Unless you just don't want to go out and do anything, don't want to travel, don't want to do anything, So let's break this down. I want to start how I usually start, and that is by going not just to the definition of the word money, but to the history of the meaning of the word, the etymology of the word. So I'm going to my favorite trusty website, etymonline.com, Googled or typed in money. From the mid 13th century, money, funds, means anything convertible into money or coinage, coin, metal currency. From Old French monnaie or something, I don't know how to speak French, money, coin, currency, change. From the Latin moneta, place for coining money, a mint, coined money. Let's see, a title or surname of the Roman goddess Juno, whose temple on the Capitoline Hill money was coined, and in which perhaps the precious metal was stored. Also means to advise, warn, or admonish by tradition in the sense of admonishing goddess, which is sensible, but the etymology is difficult. Extended by the early 19th century to include paper recognized and accepted as a substitute for coin. Now, this is very interesting. Okay, this is very, very interesting. Hey, what's up, Matt Granahan jumping in? What's up, brother? So money in the 13th century means coinage, metal, currency. Okay, that's 13th century. You go 600 years later to the 19th century, now they're including paper money as an accepted substitute for coin. Okay, and they said that the highwayman's threat of your money or your life was attested in 1974. So the phrase in the money started, earliest reference they found was in 1902, which originally referred to one who finishes amongst the prize winners, such as in a horse race. The challenge to put one's money where one's mouth is was first recorded in 1942 in African American vernacular. Money grub, for an avaricious person who is sordidly intent on amassing money, is from 1768, so that's an older one. Money grubber appears in 1835. Okay, so those are all kind of gives you an idea. So it started out as metal, right? Started out as metal, and eventually became paper. So what actually is money? How would you describe money? Rob Dent says easier to travel long distances with paper than metal. That is true. That is true. Easier to replace if it's destroyed or stolen. Easier to counterfeit, whether that is legally through inflation and the weird Federal Reserve System. I don't know how many of you even understand how it works. And it really is kind of bullshit, but do you actually know how the relationship between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve of the United States? Just curious. Anyway, so really the bottom line with money is that it's really like a medium of exchange. Okay, it's a way for people to exchange. It's a medium. So right, like we all know barter. That's direct exchange. There's no medium. There's no money involved. There's no third thing besides the two things on the other side of the trade, right? So it's a medium of exchange. right? Bartering being what people did before money. Okay. It's also what? It's a store of value. So I say I have property. I have 30 acres by a lake, and I exchange somebody money for it, and it's hopefully, well, inflation fucks this up, but it's supposed to be a store of value. We know this isn't true because you can go and you can look at how inflation has destroyed money itself as a store of value. Now, this is something where gold, which used to be the money du jour, has more value in terms of being a store of value. Okay. And then lastly, money is a way of accounting. It's a unit of account. So we could say something is worth $50, $55, $70, $12, whatever, right? So Hobo Lunafort, Federal Reserve can print as much as they want. It's a foreign-owned institution. Okay, so let's not get crazy down the tin. Come on, man. I thought you were a teacher. You got to Google this shit. So here's the deal. The Federal Reserve is it was created by the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. So it's actually was enacted in law. Now, you are right insofar as it's about as federal as a Federal Express, which is to say not at all as FedEx. But it's been given a charter or been allowed to exist by the Federal Reserve Act starting 1913. Totally fucked up year for American finance. It's when the income tax happened too, which is total bullshit. We should really try to repeal the 16th Amendment. Think about this. Repeal the 16th Amendment. That's something you should Google it, look into it, really burn into your memory. It would radically change our world for the better. But back to Federal Reserve, essentially what happens is there are 12 member banks, and these banks are made up of membership from a bunch of other little banks, American banks. Now they are connected to an international system, the International Monetary Fund and the Bank of International Bank of International Settlements. But they all operate off of this really weird idea. They do just create money out of nothing. That part is 100% true. It is crazy that they do this, and that's one of the ways they like have a lever by which they can manipulate things is through the manipulation of interest rates. That's how they've done it. So when they first started, they tried to actually target the supply of money. That didn't work out. That's what happened in the 70s, and we ended up having inflation, stagflation. You can Google these things in the late 70s. Paul Volcker took over the Federal Reserve right around when Reagan got elected, started targeting interest rates. And we've been doing that ever since, okay? Now, that has not always been so awesome. We can look at the fucking disaster laid out during the Alan Greenspan years, okay? And I like Alan Greenspan, fine, but it's just a shit institution. It just should probably go away, honestly. The problem is that it's so big and powerful that it's very unlikely that it ever will. It's just one of those things like, it's like getting into a choke. Like, what's the best way to get out of choke? Don't get in the first place. That's like these systems, man. You got to, it sounds great. They sell you on it, and then you get fucking into it and you realize you're a slave and that you're losing the value of your money. It's no longer a store of value. It's actually a way to lose money. You're taxed through it. That's a very sophisticated argument. I don't want to get it too far down the rabbit hole. But really, again, those three things about money, right? So it's a store of value, it's a medium of exchange, and it's a unit of account. Okay? Generally, as it's understood. Now, there are all kinds of different types of money. Do you know that, right? So it depends on how you look at things. Okay? There's somewhere around $40 trillion in circulation. Okay. And that's like if we were to count all the money, that like paper money deposited in savings and checking accounts and transacted. Okay. Now, money that's in the form of investments, derivatives. Now, that's what I got my master's of science in. Effectively, there's a lot of derivatives and cryptocurrencies now that increases the supply of money. We're looking at $1.3 quadrillion. $1.3 quadrillion. That's 1,000 million. Okay, so you think of if you think of a million as 1,000, you have a pile of $1,000, and you have 1,000 piles of $1,000. That's $1 million. Now you take 1,000 thousands, a million, and you get 1,000 of those piles. That's a billion. You get 1,000 of those piles, and that's a quadrillion. It's a fucking huge, mind-baffling number. Okay, like it's like 1 times 10 to the 15th. It's huge. You can't. It's hard to really grasp how big that is. Okay. Think of it like 1,000 trillion. Okay, it's 1,000 trillion. Okay, so to give you an idea, that is about the same number as there are ants on the planet. There's estimated to be about a quadrillion ants. Make sense? Why am I asking how much money is there estimated to be on the planet? Why would I want to know that? Because I want you to understand there is so much fucking money on the earth. For you to have a scarcity mindset about it is absolutely wrong. Okay? For you to have scarcity about money, you are factually wrong. If we lived in this socialist utopia that all these dummies think is somehow possible, but let's just go there. Let's live here for a second. That means if I were to take 1.3 quadrillion, okay, and I were to divide it by 8 billion people on the planet, that's over $150,000 we could give to every single person right now. Imagine right now. Aliens come down, they're like motherfuckers, and they got this technology, and they're like, freeze, boom, boom. They do some fucking shit, and every single human on the earth right now, every one of us, 8 billion, boom, you got started over. Everybody's equal. 160,000, 162,000, or whatever that ends up being. 1.3 quadrillion divided by 8 billion people. That's right. Okay, so that's a decent amount of money. If I had $160,000 right now just to blow, I could start a fucking kick-ass business and make more money. I could use that money to make 10, 100 times that amount of money if I understand business, finance, how it works. Does this make sense? So there's no scarcity of money. What there is a scarcity of people who know that there's no scarcity. And then secondary, after that, there's a scarcity of people willing to go out and fucking figure it out and hustle it up and make it. I'm just spitting facts. You don't have to like it. I'm not looking for you to fucking dig what I'm saying. I'm just saying contemplate what I'm saying. Do the math that I'm doing. Okay? So let's see here. Rob Dent says 1.3 quadrillion minus 40 trillion. No real value created equals fake money. Listen, dude, I'll take that 1.3, dude. I could buy some shit with that. Well, I mean, money is a unit of account. This is the problem with inflation, right? So inflation basically fucks with your ability to maintain the integrity of value over time. So, right, because there's something known as the time value of money. So look, over time, because of interest, over time, if $100 stayed $100, now there's technology is naturally deflating. Okay. So inflation means when there's inflation, every dollar as inflation progresses, every dollar can purchase fewer items, right? So we can look at this like the dollar, like you used to be able to buy a house in the 80s, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, like in Denver, for $125,000, $150,000. That same house today is over $400,000. That would be considered price inflation, okay? Deflation is like my first computer I bought, because I was like 1990, this had to be 1995. I was fresh out of college, moved to to San Francisco. Had my mother gifted me her used car, at Toyota MR2, and when I got in there, into San Francisco, I realized, dude, I don't need a car. In fact, it's a fucking liability. I'm getting parking tickets all the time because basically there's no parking spots and it's like a revenue generator. So I sold my car. I sold it for like $2,000 back in 95. And I bought a computer and it cost me $2,000. Didn't even have a fucking gig of memory or drive. Not 1 gig. Not one. It still had a fucking CD. Didn't have a DVD in it. I mean, it was so ghetto, dude. And you could, I mean, for me, I had to still get into the internet. This was before, like, this is when Netscape had the browser, okay? Like, old, for $2,000. The computer now that I'm talking to you live everywhere across the world cost me a third of that price. It's a million times better. So technology is deflating naturally. This is the irony, right? Because like there's this whole thing like that there's scarcity and oh gosh, overpopulation. It's all bullshit. If you look at the population curve, which is increasing, okay, now we are actually in a big problem. You have to understand 5 times the number of people on the planet are turning 65 than are turning 20. That's what's known as population collapse. Google it. Population collapse. Okay. Big problem coming down the pike. Look at Japan. They've been fucked because, and we got the same problem, the boomers and all this. It's a problem. Okay. Now there's also opportunities, huge opportunities to make money here. It depends what you look at, the way you look at things. But anyway, I don't want to get too far. Okay, Taco Meat says, you want to keep talking about catch wrestling, dude. I get you. Okay, do you think catch wrestling has to evolve? Everything has to evolve, dude. I don't even know where that's going. Okay, so let's go to Kaylin. Dambisa Moyo seems to be our new unelected UK PM's economic hero. What do I think of her? I don't think of her. I have no idea who the fuck that is. I really don't follow politics anymore. It's kind of bullshit. But I appreciate the question. I don't really have an educated answer to give you on that. Okay, so let's talk about money for a second. Okay, I've been throwing all these weird facts and figures and shit at you, and I want you to understand what it is. Okay, so again, $40 trillion of actual money in savings and checking accounts and physical cash. Okay, 1.3 quadrillion in terms of the money circulating around, including derivatives, cryptocurrency, investments, things like that. Okay. Now, there is price inflation, which is kind of like not really what actually economists mean when they talk about inflation, because it's very complicated. In fact, everybody's freaking out about inflation right now. I don't see it, dude. I wrote a book in 2012 called Endonomics. I addressed all this shit. It's been spot on. Actually predicts the end of the United States by 2030, which it looks like we're pretty close. If you don't think that can happen, look at the Soviet Union just in the 90s, man. I was there, saw it. I guess that was in the 80s. Anyway, so what is the total? We're talking about the total supply of money, and there's different ways to measure this. Now, I do tend to favor, some people favor a political way of thinking, other people favor a religious way of thinking. I favor an economic way of thinking just because that's how I think. Okay, I think about economics. I think the economic way of thinking is actually the most moral way. It was largely introduced to the world by Adam Smith. Now, the history of economic thought goes all the way back to all recorded in the beginning. But Adam Smith came up with The Wealth of Nations, that book, which launched 1776 when it was published, interestingly enough, and launched the way that we think of things economically, right? And I do want to get into the why I think it's a moral system. He was the chair of moral philosophy at the University of Glasgow. He was actually a philosopher, a moral philosopher, who was trying to understand how the world actually worked, and came to the conclusion that if you accept this idea of voluntary trade as better than like theft or assault, that voluntary trade was a moral way of organizing a culture, that then laissez-faire capitalism, not the state corporatism that we see today, and capitalism gets a bad name, but like the laissez-faire, which is strictly really like what you see with small business owners. They're not buying lobbyists, they're not passing laws to fuck over competition, or you're using the IRS to fucking harass people. None of that kind of stuff. Like just straight business people trying to exchange. Now, money, the supply of money, is usually the way that economists address. They talk about inflation in terms of purely the money supply. So when you have an increase in the money supply, we've heard recently in the last couple of years, because of all the dumb lockdown shit, that there was 40% of all the money in circulation today. 40% of the money supply has been created out of thin air in the last 2 years. And then people wonder why prices are so fucking crazy. Okay. But you have to understand, the money supply is fucking growing for sure, dude. Like they did print a fuck ton of money and give out to little tiny checks, which is really honestly like a shitty tax rebate. Because if you look at how much money you get pulled out in withholding, you'd fucking shit. You got to remember when you were first a kid, got your first minimum wage job, and you're all stoked and you're doing the math in your head, and then you go and you look, oh man, they took they took like 30% of my money in tax. And for what? To go bomb brown people that I got no personal problem with? I mean, it's just stupid. But there's different ways that they measure it, right? And typically they all have to do with like M1, M2, M3, right? This is kind of like how economists tend to think about it. It's the language that they use to talk about it. So let's start with like M or M0. That's like all the physical money in circulation, like coins, notes, bills. Okay. That's M0. M1 is all of that plus all the money held in accounts, like checking accounts, savings accounts, traveler's checks. Okay. M2 is all of that plus savings, mutual funds, money market, other kinds of like time deposits. Now, M3 is the biggest, broadest measure of money. And that's all of everything in M2, which was everything in M1, blah, 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 plus CDs, right? Certificates of deposit, big institutional money market funds, repo agreements, right? And now these are things that are still considered money by those three definitions I said earlier: unit account, medium of exchange, unit account, medium of exchange, and store of value. But they just tend to be less liquid, meaning they're not as easily traded, right? So anyway, what I want you to understand is that when I talk about that population collapse and the fact that 5 times the number of people in the United States are turning 65 that are turning 20. By the way, you guys need to start fucking having kids, like for real. Like all you young people, man, you got to figure this out. And you got to figure out money. And the public school system. I wrote a book, my first non-wrestling book. It's called Anomaly. Okay, I wrote it back in 2009. And a lot of the stuff in that book this is the thing about the books I write. I don't know why, but they tend to come true. I just have this thing where I don't know why. I have a way of looking at the world and things tend to line up pretty well. That book, now you guys could go read a lot of those old writings. Now I updated some of it. You can go get the old book and check and see what I updated, but not too much. It was mostly, I feel like I'm a better writer now. I could be clearer in my writing, but I put them all up for free. You can go Mental Self-Defense, which was the name of my old radio show that I used to have for any of you guys who used to follow me there. mentalselfdefense.com has the old writings. You could see in there, some of it's on philosophy, some of it's on other topics. One of the things I talked about was medical fascism and learned helplessness, which is very interesting because I wrote in 2009, and 10 years later, boom, we see COVID-19 and the response and how it was done. In that same article, I talk about the public education system and how it was actually started by the Rockefellers, and it was not actually, the means was not, the aim was not literacy, whether it was mathematical, numeracy, or literature, or financial, or well-being, or any business. The point was to create workers, right? You guys got to go read the work. The guy who's the best on this is John Taylor Gatto, Gatto. Go to Amazon, John Taylor Gatto, Gatto. Fantastic guy, right? Taco meat, dude, you are on this catch wrestling thing. Why at these moments there is no pure exponent of catch wrestling? Because MMA is mixed, right? So there's no pure anybody. I think probably obviously we have these guys like Josh Barnett is probably the most recent big name, Sakuraba, and then one guy who got scrubbed like straight out in 1984, thrown down the memory hole, was the most dominant MMA guy in the 90s, all the 90s, Frank Shamrock. Dude, straight up catch wrestling. I just posted something on Instagram about where he was wrestling Dan Henderson doing a leg lock in 97. It's you can go check out the Scientific Wrestling Instagram for that. Okay, I got some dude posting some weird emojis. Okay, anyway. I don't even know where I was. Let's see. Let me check the comments here. So we got Johnny Cologne. Don't worry, bro. My goal is to have 70 kids like this Yakuza boss I saw on a documentary. I got to go make up for go, Johnny Cologne, dude. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. But see, okay, this is the thing I want. It made me think about this. Now, thank you, Johnny, because you brought me back to a thought I was having. Yeah. Oh, we got all this is the problem. Most people, I think it was Keynes who said most people are unaware that they're slaves to the thoughts of a long dead economist. And many people today are slaves to the thoughts of Thomas Malthus. Thomas Malthus is the guy that really put all this fucking overpopulation hysteria in people's minds. He did some shitty mathematical extrapolations. I mean, it was like the 1800s. The guy, wasn't a great modeler. Anyway, it's very interesting if you map the population curve when shit started really blowing up in terms of a lot of people on the planet. Have you also noticed the quality of life has gone up? So back when there was like 1 billion people on the planet, most people were shitting in outhouses. Do you understand? It's 0 degrees. You got to poo. You got to put on your fucking boots, go walk out to the fucking shitter in 0 degrees and try to poo and wipe your ass with a corn cob. You notice the more populated the world gets, the better the technology gets, the more money like the value, things become more valuable because the technology deflates things. Does this make sense? Let's go in here. So Johnny Cologne, dude, I appreciate you. I'm just telling you, overpopulation is a myth. Go there. Overpopulation is a myth.org or .com. They have some great arguments there. It's total bullshit. And Elon Musk, who's saying this? Dan, how do I say your name? Dan Wolstenhume says Musk is big on I don't know that he's big on population collapse so much as he's like, fuck, this is a big problem. Okay. Like, all you dummies with all this climate change shit and all this fucking like getting suckered into taking these fucking bullshit shots that totally violate the Nuremberg Code. Nazis hung for this like within, some people are alive that were when the Nuremberg trials were on. You guys, God, literacy is a real problem. We live in all this information and people don't have a clue about anything because you're so easily distracted. Oh, did I do it? He said, good job on your name. I tried, man. And what did you say here about Shamrock versus Gracie? Yeah, I don't know, man, what you're saying, because, clearly catch wrestling is a prize fighting sport. They were not at that point. I think Ken Shamrock was brought out to really wrestle them in the early days, and he lost, man. He did good though. Like he ended up winning MMA UFC championships. Taco Meat says, did the catch wrestling stay compared to the, oh man, listen, pal, I really enjoy your comments, but they're totally off topic. It's cool. I don't even know how to address that. Okay, so here's the problem. Catch wrestling is not really geared towards retail martial arts. It can be. That's one of the things I'm trying to solve, is to bring it in to this way that most martial arts are taught in the United States today, as this like retail, but it's very rough. It's very, very rough because it's actually a prize fighting sport. It's closer to boxing. This is why you find fucking taekwondo everywhere, but you don't find boxing gyms everywhere. You find BJJ everywhere, but you don't find catch wrestling everywhere. Okay. Now, I've said this 1,000 times. I respect BJJ. It's awesome. I've dabbled in it myself. I know a lot of people that make their livelihoods out of it, and I respect that, and I wish them all the best. That said, BJJ, in terms of its impact on the world, is not even a pimple. It's not even a blackhead. I don't even know what to help. Maybe it's like a cell on the ass of Catch as Catch Can in terms of impact. Okay. Catch as Catch Can is its own thing. Also inspired Olympic freestyle wrestling, inspired folk style collegiate wrestling, inspired pro wrestling. And I hate to break it to you, Shuto and Pancrase were out MMA before Gracie. And on top of that, Maeda learned his style in response to him being out on the catch wrestling circuits. It's just, the impact is huge. Okay. But again, I'm just asking for a little bit of grappling literacy, a little bit of opening your mind. Okay. Anyway, Stellar Steven asks, do I address Austria's school economics earlier? I might have missed it. So, okay, here's the thing. Austrian economics is okay. I like it. It's not the end all be all. There is no end all be all. Guess what? We're all just trying to do the best we can. I think that Austrian economics, again, I'm not a fan of Rothbard. I don't think he really did much of consequence. I think he was an interesting writer, a good political rabble rouser. Okay. But like his economics contributions were not fantastic. Okay. So that's it on that. Are they right about the Federal Reserve? He's written a great book. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I have it on my bookshelf. I wrote it or read it years ago on the origins of the Federal Reserve. Does a great job with that. But the problem is that they don't address deflation. The other thing is that's deflationary beyond technology itself. I mean, just look at the prices of computers. Look at your phone, dude. Like the amount of shit that's in your phone and the prices come down. I can go get a burner phone for like $50. It's unbelievable. Okay. Remember those gigantic fucking cell phones you had to like carry on? They were like giant bricks. Anyway, bankruptcy, default. So if the Federal Reserve just creates money out of nothing, it's really, these Federal Reserve banks buy treasuries, debt from the United States government, which, by the way, you are the surety on that debt, your tax that's taken against your will. Slavery? Good argument there. People say taxation is theft. I am with Robert Nozick, the brilliant philosopher, that it's actually slavery. It's just fractional slavery, but slavery nonetheless. You can go, there's a great YouTube video where he fleshes out this argument called The Tale of a Slave. Robert Nozick, Nozick. Go find it. Just take notes when you're here, man. I'm gonna spit a lot of shit at you. Tale of the Slave by Robert Nozick. Anyway, one of the things that I don't think is addressed by the Austrian school, they're very, very, like you hear Ron Paul, oh, inflation. Yeah, okay, yeah. The M1 has increased. They printed all this money. Have we looked at the debt defaults? How much money, when Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2008, was sucked out of the system? The bankruptcy statistics. I'm having a hell of a time. They don't want to fucking show this. There's a measure for the money supply, a measure for inflation, but there's not a measure for deflation. And I can tell you how it would go. You have to take a measure of all the money being pulled out of the system or being written down, written off through bankruptcy, defaults, and that would be personal, government, corporate, and then you net that. So if you want an actual, see if we're in deflation or inflation, you would net that against M3. Is this fucking, like, am I losing you guys? I don't even know. Let's see. What does Dan say here? Took a while to handle BJJ. I'm with you on catch these days. Look, dude, we just saw Abu Dhabi's, that short choke. That's a catch thing. By the way, you could get really pedantic about it. Say, well, hey, man, if it's not in the gi, it's kind of not jiu-jitsu. I don't know. No gi, isn't that just fucking grappling? I mean, why would I call it no gi? It'd be like me calling it no pin catch. Like, it's just, come on, guys. You're trying too hard on the branding, on the fucking brainwashing here. Sterling says, catch as catch can. Either you know or you don't. I mean, it's just grappling literacy, dude. You know, like, there's a lot of things to learn about martial arts. It's a fucking huge field. I mean, look at, like, the encyclopedic knowledge of somebody like Eric Paulson. Guy knows a fucking lot about punching, kicking. Like, he's really good. Like, you know, because he kind of comes from that Jeet Kune Do philosophy. Okay, and that's awesome. And then there are people like that do hybrid grappling. I support them. Guys like my pal Jesse Mraz, Sam Crescent. These guys all have done very well in jiu-jitsu, but they also have done very well in catch as catch can and learning it and promoting it and competing and those kind of things. Luis Ojeda, all these guys. So hybrid grappling or just grappling. I don't know why you got to put hybrid on it, but grappling. But for me, my grappling literacy is really on this obscure thing, which has got the biggest impact of any martial art combat sport on the planet. Ironically, it's just so weird. Catch wrestling. So that's really, which is scientific wrestling, right? And that's kind of why I picked the name scientific wrestling, because I like what that implies, right? Catch wrestling is just the general term, catch as catch can. But scientific wrestling was the euphemism given to it because of the technical nature of the best adherence. And that's really what scientific wrestling's tried to do, is to go after, you know, the number one guys to codify, pass on for those people who are interested in learning it and applying it. And I just saw a Craig Jones video today, man. He's doing a straight up, well, he didn't turn the head enough for my liking, but he was basically doing like a Wade Chalice chin pick half Nelson. So Dan, let's see here. Dan says, Smith and the invisible hand always made sense to me. Natural selection economics. Yeah, okay, yes and no. That's a little more Herbert Spencer. You know, like, you have to remember that. So the book that Smith wrote prior to The Wealth of Nations was called The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And the whole premise is that ethics and morals shouldn't be based on some esoteric shit about gods or some tablets that were scribbled on or anything like that. That it should be considered, what he considered the theory of moral sentiments was this idea of sympathy, which is now better known as empathy, being able to put yourself in another person's shoes. And this is where, like, this idea of consent, you know, comes down to being the central argument in favor of freedom, liberty, libertarianism, these ideas about consent being the central moral value. that by which everything else is determined. And that was really what he was trying to get to. It wasn't about natural selection or survival of the strongest, because honestly, that is what we see really with like what we have now. Honestly, state capitalism, which is the state, which typically means that institution in our culture which has a monopoly on the use of violence. Does that make sense? They can point the guns at you. They can throw you in jail. They can kill you, execute you, death row, all that shit, right? They have the monopoly, the sanction, according to some bullshit, like they have the consent of the government. A lot of times they actually don't, but that's the premise, right, of the state. But the problem is, there's a problem with having that kind of monopoly on the force when you apply it in other arenas that are outside of that. One of the big things that I think that the United States did that was was the separation of church and state, right? So no longer did we really have like religion throwing people in jail and throwing them on a spike or lighting them on fire if they're a witch or whatever, you're heretical or non-orthodox, heterodox. So anyway, that's where I think the flaw came in, is they did not separate. There was a couple flaws, obviously, compromising with Georgia. We would have abolished slavery, like England had abolished slavery, and that was a great thing. One of the few great things that England has done. I mean, as a state, as an empire. I'm not talking about the culture and the people, because clearly catch can comes, well, at least was first documented, was an amalgam out of that area, the Irish in the north of England. But they had eradicated slavery, and we were going to do it. But Georgia was the one holdout of the colonies, and we needed them to be able to fight, because it was straight up Star Wars, man. It was like the rebels versus the Death Star, and outgunned. The sun never set on the British Empire. There's a huge military thing, and they needed Georgia, and they made a compromise, and that's really the fatal flaw of the United States. Ended up having the Civil War, killed more Americans than any other war against ourselves. Instituted, it was the first time there was actually an income tax. Like, a lot of problems came out of that original civil war that we had, which was a response of not getting rid of slavery in the first place. So anyway, I look at natural selection economics as being closer to this state corporatism or fascism or state capitalism that we have now, which is in complete stark opposition to a laissez-faire capitalism. I'm not a utopian, so excuse me, I'm not under any illusion anything's going to change. I'm not really interested in changing it. I'm just more interested in trying to do the best I can for myself and my family in a moral way, which again, for me, centers around, this idea of theory of moral sentiments and empathy. So anyway, and then Dan, what do you say here in response? Sorry, I kind of go off. In 20, 30 years, there'll be a ton of empty houses when us boomers die off. Now, so I'm a huge fan of Grant Cardone. I believe the guy is a genius. You see him and he's flashy and off-putting and like trying to be a rapper or I don't know, dude. The guy's a billionaire. And when you get past all the marketing shit, he's a good human being, I believe, and very, very smart. He is really into the idea of using real estate to build wealth. I agree with that. I think it's a very, very historically sound investment. However, Dan, what you're talking about is the thing that sticks in the back of my head about real estate as an investment, that the prices will go up, continue to go up, and it'll continue to be a fantastic investment as long as population increases, right? I mean, basic supply and demand. You keep the supply the same and increase the demand, the price goes up. That's like Econ 101, supply and demand curves. If there's a massive population collapse, that could be a big problem. Okay. So I don't disagree with you. I'm still optimistic. So you guys need to get out there, start fucking, having some kids. You know what I'm saying? All you young people, figure out how to have money to support them. I made 3 myself. I'm going to be pushing them to make 3 or 4, So, taco meat. When will we see a catch wrestling Abu Dhabi champion? I do not have a glass. I don't know. Crystal ball, dude. I have no idea. Hopefully soon. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you. The point I was trying to make earlier is all this no gi is looking a fuck ton like catch based grappling, no pin grappling. I think that Abu Dhabi looks a lot more like no pin grappling than it looks like jujitsu. That's my opinion. Um, we know that leg locks came from catch. We know that takedowns came from catch. We know that a fuck ton of submissions came from catch. I'm just saying, dude, like whatever you fucking call it, I think the influence is undeniable. I think the impact is undeniable. Whatever, man. Okay. I don't know what else to do with that. Dan says just plain old supply and demand is natural selection economics. Sort of. I mean, the thing is if you really get into the philosophy of science, natural selection is not even all that it's meant, all that it's made out to be. In some ways, it's kind of tautological. It's not even that great of an idea. It's like obvious, but there's some interesting thoughts to be made there. So anyway, Stellar Stephen, do I address Austrian school? Yeah, I mean, they're okay. They're okay on the understanding of the Federal Reserve. I think they're good. Like I liked Hayek a lot, honestly. Like his book, The Sensory Order, is fucking amazing. So far ahead of its time. And I think it's the one that people look at the least. I also like his essay, Why I'm Not a Conservative, because it really points out the libertarian argument as to like why you wouldn't be a conservative if you're not a progressive. I don't like to use the word liberal because I think it's confusing. There is a school called classical liberalism that is less toxic than this socialist thing that has co-opted the term. Stellar Stephen, is working remotely going to be more common again? Is remote work a solution or a problem? I mean, it depends on the way you look at it, right? So if you own commercial property, it's a fucking problem, because nobody wants to rent out office space anymore, right? And so we've seen a collapse in the real estate markets on the commercial side, largely started by lockdown policies. But now you supposedly have talk of guys like in BlackRock and these other, by the way, they pretty much own the planet if you don't know, BlackRock and Vanguard combined. You got to Google that shit. It's interesting. In terms of, mergers and acquisitions, like these are very powerful companies that they honestly probably own all the politicians at some way. I mean, I don't know how to really, they also control the flow of information. So, that could get fact checked out of existence. I don't know. So good luck trying to find that one. It's like I'm trying to find this statistic on deflation, like I mentioned earlier, and it's a challenge. I've actually asked 4 economists that I know now, and they keep pointing me to different sources, and they're helpful, but it's like I'm not an economist. You guys should do this. You might win a prize because it's a good idea. So, I think the remote working is interesting. Here's the problem. Okay. So, and again, no one person has everything right, whether it's me or anybody else, but somebody I was very big and influential in my thinking, especially through grad school. It was probably the most famous financial engineer on the planet is a guy named Nassim Taleb. He wrote The Black Swan, wrote Anti-Fragile. Now he gets on like MSNBC and pontificates about shit. And there's plenty that I disagree with him on, but in a lot of things I do agree with him. And, the remote working thing is very interesting. And this is just a general thing. Like we were talking about how Dan was talking about like real estate could collapse because of the population dynamics, the investments in real estate, and we could be sitting on a glut of empty properties. That is something that could happen. But, I think we're really vulnerable right now as a culture. We could just see, like, do you see, like, part of the problem with like all this inflation argument that I see is that they're not taking into account the basics of supply and demand. When you look at the crippled supply chain, that has nothing to do with fucking the amount of money pumped into the system. And that alone could raise prices. This is for the people that are saying, oh, look at the price increase on everything. Well, not everything's increasing. We've seen huge deflation in commodity prices. So it's a very complicated thing. But I do think, again, I'm talking about money today. And I think this is something that is worthy of everybody to really think deeply about, because it affects your life and allows you to make the best decisions for you and your family, right? What's Dan say here? I've done a few submission grappling tournaments, but I was too old and out of shape to hang. Sub first few guys, but gas out. Well, Carl would say conditioning is your greatest hold. Rob Dent, zombie corporations will start dying off in this current. Yeah, I mean, probably. Stellar Steven, why isn't folk style wrestling more marketable like BJJ? BJJ, I would argue, is not super marketable. So I don't know that I agree. So here's a problem that it's very hard to compete with something that's free. And it's not free because, again, we pay for schools through property tax. But folk style is largely paid for through property taxation, i.e. through the public school systems. And so there's nobody who's actually gone in and thought, hey, I'm going to compete like how FedEx or UPS competed with the U.S. Post Office for wrestling. Okay. So BJJ is not taught in the schools, right? And so BJJ had to go retail martial arts. Now, Old Catch and grappling and stuff did survive through the YMCA's for a long time. This is where Bill used to go train. This is actually where Billy got turned on to catch, was the YMCA. Benny Sherman and a couple other guys, when his dad would take him to the YMCA and showed him grappling. Guess who else? Wade Chalice picked up. Now, these were outside of the socialist structure of education. We have socialized education. You just got to get over it. If you want to call it public, whatever the fuck it is, but it's paid for by the state. Who benefits? The state. The state wants you to educate your kids. It's the easiest way to keep slaves. I mean, this is not complicated shit, people. Anyway, so I don't know, Stellar Steven, if I totally agree. And it's a little apples. There's kind of totally different delivery systems here in terms of the market for folk style versus BJJ. I just don't know. I don't know how I can answer that question really succinctly and directly. Shit, man, we've been going for an hour and 7 minutes. I got to go. I got a lot of work to do. You guys I'll stay here if you keep asking me questions, but otherwise I got to go. What's Dan say? He says, agree, BJJ not so marketable, boring going into guard. Okay, so BJJ, folk style, grappling, judo, these are very boring for spectators to watch. Okay, they're boring. So most of the money is through the participants paying to entry fees for tournaments. Sure, mom and dad will come, maybe the girlfriend will come, but honestly, they're on their fucking cell phone for most of it. They're not interested. It's not a spectator friendly because there's too many laws or too many regulations, too many rules that, it's just what happens to sport after it's been around a long time. People keep adding fucking shit to it and it loses its simplicity. MMA, simple, submission or knockout. Catch wrestling, which is pro wrestling. Now I'm saying competitive pro wrestling, not theatrical pro wrestling, but theatrical pro wrestling still benefits from the excitement generated through a similar thing. Not instead of a knockout or a submission, it's a pin or a submission, but still very simple, very easy for people to get. Boxing, knockout. It's easy for people to get behind these things. It's easy to promote. Let's see. Taco meat, man. Boy, you are blowing up my shit here. After Billy Robinson, who should take responsibility for the catch wrestling? Yeah, that's scientific wrestling, dude. In fact, most of you probably wouldn't have heard about Billy if it wasn't for scientific wrestling. Just being real. So let's see here. Kalen says, could you not say some gi chokes are actually collar elbow moves? I mean, I'm sure. I'm not a collar and elbow expert, so I would probably bet on it. I have no idea, but I would imagine maybe. Yeah. And so here's another thing. Collar and elbow, like a lot of people keep saying that Abe Lincoln was a catch wrestler. He was not. He was a collar and elbow. it was very popular. Now that's an Irish style, and that was a very popular style here in the United States as well. George Washington, our first president, was a collared elbow wrestler, and from what I understand, there was a couple submissions that they knew. I'm not like I'm down the rabbit hole of catch. You ask me anything about catch, I can tell you I know some of the connecting stuff a little bit, but my job is advocacy and teaching of scientific wrestling, catch as catch can, the sport of professional wrestling. Okay, which to me, I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about like the Shoot Pro promotion that I'm doing right now. So check out Shoot Pro Wrestling. You can go to the website or you can go to YouTube. I have the last 3 events up there. And for me, to be true to the spirit of Catch as Catch Can, I want to build this to the point where people actually feel like they can bet on these matches. So there could be nothing funny about the actual. I don't mind outside the ring if there's theatrics, if there's drama, if there's contrived heat. I don't give a fuck. But inside that ring, for that time period when the match is on, it's straight up and up. That's important because I believe beyond the technique, beyond the rules, at the core of catch wrestling, and also the bilateral nature of the agreements between the wrestlers to where they can negotiate the rules and things like that. That's core. But I also believe that betting is core to the central to the culture of catch as catch can to scientific wrestling too. So I don't know if that helps. Rob Dent, Ricardo Aronia, Abu Dhabi OG went undefeated using a wrestler's top game. Yeah, because it works. Adapt or die. Natural selection, right, Dan? Kalen, Sovereign Capital and UK are the same. They're actually buying up domiciliary carry of elderly. Yeah, I mean, this is a problem, dude. So now you got a guy like fucking Bill Gates who wants to depopulate, is like very concerned. He thinks we should depopulate. Is like totally in these Georgia Guidestones, motherfuckers. And he owns more farmland than anybody else in the United States. That's a concern, dude. Like, it's a concern. Let's keep going here. Any other comments? Stellar Steven, I listened to your Gotch interview this morning. Enjoyed hearing about the Japanese. At carlgotch.com. I have, man, I guess I've been doing fucking radio and interviews even before I had my radio show and before the podcast. But yeah, if you go to carlgotch.com, KARLGOTCH.com, that's my memorial site. I have maybe 10 hours of some of the mentoring calls that we did over the 4-year period that he was helping me out. I hope that was cool. Jay Espinoza, how can we register for Shoot Pro? You can't register for Shoot Pro. It's not a pay-to-play deal. You can register for King of Catch. Gil Olivas is running King of Catch in Arizona. Luis Ojeda runs King of Catch in San Diego. We're looking for more people to become affiliates and start running King of Catch tournaments. You can register for any of those. They've been going on since 2007. So there's tons of opportunity. It's just up to you to actually get out and get to one, or become an affiliate, start running one. Again, the only rule set co-developed by Carl Gotch for Catch as Catch Can Wrestling. So, yeah, I hope that helps. Shoot Pro is an invitational. It's by invitation only. I'm the head booker right now. I do rely on the help of some of my friends that have a killer Rolodex. I have a great Rolodex being around in this business, in this MMA grappling stuff since '94. So, look at Shoot Pro 3. We have lots of great guys in it. Shoot Pro 2, world champions, great guys. Shoot Pro 1, we didn't have a lot of huge name guys. Still, I think the rule set and the spirit, the fighting spirit of Catch as Catch Can really inspires great matches. Those were some great matches too. Go watch Shoot Pro Wrestling 1. Let's see here. Dan, what do you say? Been watching you for years, dude. You with Bill. That blonde kid getting hammered by Bill's demos. Good stuff. You're looking healthy, my man. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I think you're responding to that thing about who should, after Bill, you should take the responsibility for catch. And I said, yeah, I've been doing that, dude, for a long time. Anyway, thank you very much. And I think me looking healthy is, my health. I think I'm constitutionally healthy. I'm pretty tough. It's hard to kill me. I've had a lot of fucking death level events not fucking kill me and I'm still going. I think what makes me look healthier is I've got weight on. I'm naturally a pretty big guy. I think, I am naturally a little more on the lean, lanky side. But I did one of those 23andMe things, like genetic tests, and I have the elite power lifter genes. So I can pack on size when I really want to. But, like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. Through a lot of the 2010s, I was not doing well. I did not know I had a carotid dissection, and I did not know I was having mini strokes. And it fucked up my ability to work out because I didn't know how to deal with that. And when I went to the UK in 2019, right before COVID, or was it 2018? It was right before all that shit happened. I think it was the end of 2018. I ended up getting a DVT, a giant blood clot. This was before it was trendy. And I didn't get it because I didn't take any fucking injections. I got it because a lot of athletes get DVTs and big blood clots when they mix creatine with international travel. I didn't know that. I did that, got fucking hammered. Came back to the States. They scanned me. That's when they found the carotid dissection. When they found out that the mini strokes, I figured it out. I was like, this is why I'm having a hard time. I'm faint all the time because I only have one carotid getting oxygen to the brain. So anyway, and I got that from grappling. You guys got to be careful. You could tap to chokes, dude. Don't try to fight at them like we used to back in the early days. Stupid. Okay. And there's still a lot of people really getting fucked over by this carotid dissection thing in grappling. You guys got to be real careful. Anyway, because of that, I have been able to pack on a lot more weight. So I'm back at like 212, 213 pounds, which for 6'1" is a good weight. I feel healthier. I feel good. You can go see the stupid selfie pictures I take after my workouts. I'm not carrying a lot of fat. Yeah. So, Dan, what's he say here? He says, oh, 23 and me too. I had the same powerlifter genetics. Your neck looks better. Yeah. So that was really what I didn't understand what was happening. Was the carotid dissection. I just had so much atrophy, right? So I used to do a lot of work on my neck. And then when I started having the carotid dissection, it's just a really weird fucking experience. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. And I was having all these strokes and going, like, losing blindness, not able to use my arm. Dude, it was a fucking shit show. And I had no idea what was going on. It was actually pretty concerning. Such a relief to finally figure all of it out, right? So I appreciate that though, dude. Yeah. So it's slowly coming back. I have so much damage to my neck. It's just not even fucking funny. So I'm rehabbing it, and I appreciate you noticing that. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Jay Espinoza. All right. So what are you looking for to hand an invitation to Shoot Pro? I need to know that you know how to fucking wrestle. I need to know that you've got the guts to do these. It's a very tough rule set. Okay. I think it's closer to MMA. Go watch the old matches at Shoot Pro Wrestling. Go watch the King of Catch wrestling matches. I pull a lot of people out of King of Catch to move them up because that shows me that you got what it takes. You can go. I have the rule set is up, open, okay, on shootprowrestling.com. Go hold matches. Get somebody to ref. Run them in your gym. Send me some footage. Show me that you can put on a show and it's competitive. It can't be a work. Right? Dan says, wow, glad you're better. Yeah, dude, it was fucking rough, dude. It was rough. And, then I'm in this position of being a wrestler, and then my neck atrophies, and everybody's like, what the fuck? Who's this guy? And they don't know that I started wrestling in 1977, dude, when I was 4. I've been involved with martial arts and grappling in some way or other. I did stop because I also had cancer when I was a kid. So I've had some issues. Like I say, I'm hard to kill, but anyway, I appreciate it, dude. I really do. That's very nice of you. Thank you. So all right, guys. Shit, man, we're at 1 hour 20 minutes. This is not a Joe Rogan podcast. It was not meant to be. I've got so much work to do. I am heading out tomorrow to Pinion Hills, California, which is out in the Mojave Desert, out like if you were to fly in, it's by Ontario Airport in Southern California. Going to be there for 2 days. Me and Luis Ojeda, who I think is the winningest King of Catch champion and has defended it the most of anybody. He's also a fantastic high school wrestling coach down in Southern California. He's going to be there, and myself and a bunch of crazy people. So if you want to join in, I think we got a couple spots. Go out there, dude. Go out there. You can register. Coachingcatch.com is the registration page for the accelerator camp. Get out there. We're doing one in Denver a couple like the following weekend, October 1st and 2nd. Okay. Then we're going out to Phoenix. Then we're going to San Diego. Then we're going to Charlotte. I'm super excited. Head out there, Fit to Fight, Ryan Hoover's gym. Thank you to Dave Patrone, assistant coach, hopefully soon full coach with Scientific Wrestling, for hooking that up. So you now have an opportunity. And then 2003, we will be back in Orlando. And yeah, man, at it. But you got to get out. You got to take action, dude. I don't know what to tell you. You got to jump at these chances because they're not going to last forever. I was trying to tell everybody that with Billy Robinson. Guys, train. Let's go. I'm making him fucking available to you. Crickets, except for the few smart people who jumped on it, right? I don't know what to tell you guys. Get out to it. You're going to regret it someday if you don't. That's just how it goes. If you're really serious about this, you want to get involved, you want to help me grow this sport, my mission to get every man, woman, and child on earth to improve their lives through scientific wrestling as a fan, athlete, coach, or promoter. Every man, woman, and child, dude, that's 8 billion people. I need your help. So come on out. Help me out. Let's see here. Dan, what is the baseball choke? I mean, different people call it different things. You can call it a face crank. You can call it a gag. You can call it a short choke. I don't know, man. Billy used to fucking laugh at people all the time. He's like, I don't care what you call it. Just fucking do it right. And the older I get, the more I understand because people get so hung up on words. They just do it the right way. And that's why it's frustrating. Like, I see a guy as good as Craig Jones and he's doing this half Nelson. I'm like, dude, do it the right way. Like just crank the head a little more, then do it. And then you don't have to lift the elbow up so much. Anyway, I am grateful that he's really exploring it, looking at it. I wish he'd maybe cite Catch as Catch Can a little more, but Ladies Catch Wrestling. Hey, brother in grappling. What's up, bro? What's up, Kalen? Did you ever go to the fairs in England, the fairs when in England? Some have been going since the 13th century with wrestling. No, I'm aware of it. I know that a guy who has come to some of our trainings, Chris Crossan out there, great guy. I know that he kind of got involved, and I know that there's a lot of Irish, I don't know, I think it's rude to call them gypsies or whatever, but I don't know what else to say. Sorry, I'm just from the United States, so I don't know all the PC terms, but that still practice a lot of the gnarly stuff. So, yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think there's room for research there as long as it's of a high quality. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the challenge that I've helped to solve is to really raise the quality control standards in this sport and only go after the really top level guys instead of some of the bullshit. Anyway, guys, man, it's going to be an hour and a half on here. I truly have to go. I got to cook dinner. And I'm looking after my elderly mom. I moved her in to look after her. And my wife and kids are at a Comic-Con in Salt Lake City. So I got to go look after her, cook some dinner at 6 o'clock here. I appreciate you guys for hanging in this long. All the comments. It's so nice to talk to y'all, guys. Please, I'm going to be gone for the weekend. I probably won't have time to podcast tomorrow. I probably won't be back until Tuesday, honestly, because I'll be traveling the whole time. I will try to check in at the camp. Maybe I'll run a quick thing on Saturday and Sunday, so stay tuned. It might be better to follow on YouTube because if you follow Scientific Wrestling on YouTube or my personal channel on YouTube, which I think is under No1 Coaching, if you follow that, it'll send a notification to your phone when I'm on. If you want, I'm going to try. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do an experiment and try to broadcast from the Scientific Wrestling Accelerator camp for a little while. I can't do that on Instagram, guys. It's just too hard to run everything. But Facebook and YouTube, those two I will definitely be doing. So let's see here. Dan has another comment. Wrestling is the most physically demanding thing I've ever done. Over running, football, boxing, no comparison. You're not alone in that observation. I think a lot of um, people that experiment with athletics have come to the very same conclusion. It's tough, dude, because you're not fighting against yourself. You're fighting against somebody else, and they might even be hungrier than you. And at that point, it's like, fuck, I got to push it. And they can really punish you more, right? And the rules allow it. I don't think people understand how brutal it is. I mean, I lost a carotid artery. So anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you again for popping in. And I will, so join on the YouTube channel, okay? Go find Scientific Wrestling on YouTube and just hit subscribe. I don't know. It's not fucking complicated. Literally, just don't get distracted by some other shit and just hit there and hit subscribe, and then it'll pop up on Saturday and Sunday. We usually go from it'll be 9 a.m. Pacific till about 3 or 4 Pacific on Saturday and Sunday. So during that time period, you might want to check your Facebook. I'll try to remember. Okay, if I don't remember, some of you guys send me a DM and I'll get everything set up. So I appreciate you guys. Ladies Catch Wrestling says have a great weekend, and likewise to you. I appreciate the attention. Guys, as ever, if I can help you, DM me, all that kind of stuff. Taco Meat says, need more catch wrestling tutorials in Spanish. Help us. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Then you got to translate the shit that's out there. Because I just can't. I'm one guy, man. Trying to do everything. Johnny Cologne, going to make my mission bigger than my excuses. Yes. Fuck yeah, bro. I'll meet you in real life. Yeah, let's go. Dude, I love that. What a great way to end the show. Dude, awesome. Okay, I'm out before anybody else throws something else up here. Appreciate you guys. Hope to see you actually at Pinion Hills. Sign up. It's not too late. You can go to coachingcatch.com, register. Let's go. See you guys. Appreciate it.